So in this video, I'm going to be talking about how to get comfortable with debt. So now I know that conversation, that phrase, just even its title can be emotionally charged for somebody. It could trigger you. Maybe you've had a bad experience with debt. Maybe you are facing debt right now. You might think, why do I want to get comfortable with debt? So I want you to understand, first of all, confronting that word. Understanding, do you have the correct definition of the word? Because most people have never actually opened the dictionary and looked up this word, debt. So it is possible that you could have an invented definition, meaning somebody told you what the word meant and you never looked it up for yourself, and now you operate based on that. So I want to talk about that. I want to have a conversation and share some ideas with you and some thoughts with you that can help you handle wherever you are, however you view debt, whatever you think about it, help you handle that better. So that's why I named this topic in this video, how to get comfortable with debt. So whenever we ask people in general, what do you think debt means? These are some of the common things people say. It's a burden, it's evil, it's slavery, bondage, you're broke. These are some of the different things and feelings around debt. A person who's in debt can feel like they're enslaved. They can feel like, man, it's evil. I'm having to pay all this money. I went to this place and these people are robbing me because I'm in so much debt. I had to borrow this money for these different things. It's like in bondage. I feel like I'm never going to get out of debt. I understand all of that. In order for you to really get comfortable with a word, the meaning of the word, first thing you got to do is actually look up what that word actually means. And then once you have a correct understanding of it, that word may not be as emotionally charged to you. And then you can look at logically how to approach that, how to make better financial decisions on this subject when you approach it from a much better understanding of that word as a whole. So let's look at what does debt actually really mean. I know this is the feelings people have, but what does it mean? When you open a dictionary, what does it say? Debt is simply something owed from one to another. The dictionary never says if debt is good or bad. So let me give you an example. I could say, hey, I could say to my friend, hey, I owe you a visit. Say to my uncle, my aunt, I owe you a visit. Or somebody could say, you owe me a hug. I haven't seen you in a long time. Debt is simply something owed. And it used to be debt was something relating to gratitude. Like, I owe you a debt of gratitude. You did something good for me. I'm in your debt. You could owe somebody gum. Hey, I owe you a piece of gum tomorrow. You know, debt doesn't have to be this emotionally charged thing once you start looking at, okay, something owed. And then how do I break it down from there? It can be good or bad depending on how you look at it. And we'll talk about the different types of debt and how to put yourself in the right category when it comes to the subject of debt. But it starts with your view on it, your thinking on it. And if you're watching this video and you reject this definition and you're like, debt can't be good or bad, debt is all bad, that generally probably means you have had a negative emotional experience with debt. I have. I came here to the United States from Liberia, West Africa. I didn't understand about credit cards. I didn't understand about debt. I borrowed money. I didn't know when I was supposed to pay all this stuff. I was just ignorant on the subject. So I've had negative experiences. Most people in America have had bad experiences when it's come to debt. But what you got to do is then increase your financial knowledge. Once you increase your financial knowledge, you can actually take more responsibility on this subject. You can end up having more control on debt, on finances, on building wealth, on anything. But in any area where you don't have a lot of knowledge on, or you have incorrect knowledge on, it can have power over you. So the first thing is to have the correct knowledge on the subject. Look up the words of that subject. And so since we're talking about debt, look up the meaning of the word debt. And you'll see it, whether it's on your phone, you look it up in a dictionary, something owed. It doesn't explicitly say if it's good or bad. It used to mean, like I said before, gratitude. That was the way it was expressed previously. And now it's meant like, oh, the person's in debt, so something bad's happening in the world. So I want to talk about debt and cash flow. I want to give you an example of what I mean by how debt can be used to advance your wealth. Not that you have to do it, but I want you to consider this concept. Let's say I want to buy an apartment building. This is an apartment building costs $1 million. But I don't have $1 million. Let's say I have $250,000. Maybe it's me with $250,000, me and a few other people. We put together $250,000. We still cannot buy this apartment building. But in this apartment building, there's tenants. There's people living there. They're paying rent every month, right? In order for me to own this apartment building, I would need to go into debt. I would need to finance $750,000. Now, these are just made up arbitrary numbers, right? There's no real significance to these numbers, just that it's easy for math. So let's say this building, after servicing the debt, paying on the mortgage for the building. I can cash flow $5,000 a month. The question is, am I in debt or do I have cash flow of $5,000 a month? Somebody may look at that and be afraid because they understand their view is that debt is bad. So they may think, wow, you're gonna go borrow $750,000? What they may not be looking at is the cash flow. This apartment building is going to cash flow. So am I in debt or are my tenants indebted to me? Debt is simply something owed. So every month, whether you own, whether you rent, got a mortgage, whatever it is, every month something's owed. You owe for where you live, unless you've paid cash or you don't owe anything for that house, you still owe property taxes. So something owed, that's a debt. So it doesn't have to be this emotionally charged or bad thing. Just start understanding. Another example of this is Elon Musk just bought Twitter. Elon Musk owns shares in a $1 trillion company, Tesla. So he takes a loan against Tesla stock and uses some of that to buy Twitter. Billions of dollars in debt. Elon said he doesn't take an income. He doesn't take income, all bonuses or anything like that from Tesla. So here's a person who does not have income, yet he can get financing. Why? Because he has an asset. He has assets that's valuable. So when you start to understand that debt can facilitate buying assets. Assets are something that can appreciate and put money into your pocket, or cash flow. And a liability, which is the opposite of an asset, or the counterpart to an asset, is something that takes money out of your pocket, costs you something. When you look at debt and cash flow, in order for you to actually get financing, have debt, good debt, that's for an asset, you have to show you have cash flow. Good debt means you have good cash flow, or you can manage your cash flow well. Bad debt is a sign, and bad debt is defined as like where credit cards, maybe not student loans, but credit cards, student loans can be considered bad debt depending on how you use it. But credit cards, credit cards for shopping, for buying shoes, doing trips because you want to ball till you fall, all these kinds of different things, right? That would be an example of bad debt. Now, a lot of people get into bad debt because of bad cash flow. The cash flow isn't strong enough, or poorly managed cash flow. So why does Elon get billions of dollars in loan? One, his net worth is high, but also because his company, Tesla, has strong cash flow, has a great worth of the company. So he can borrow against that. When you can manage your cash flow well, you can start getting access to better credit, to get financing for things that will actually appreciate and bring you more cash flow, all of that. So if you can have all the intentions in the world and you can be the nicest, kindest, best person in the world, but in the United States of America and anywhere where they use financing and credit and all these things, if you don't have the ability to get financing, people won't lend to you because they will also look at your cash flow. But when it comes to buying an asset, they will look at the cash flow of the asset. They will say, well, are tenants in there? Is this building occupied? What's the occupancy rate? 90% occupancy rate? 95%? Oh, wow, 95% of these apartments in here are occupied. That's fantastic. Oh, so it's going to cash flow this much. Oh, so you can afford to service this debt. So you see the person buying this apartment building isn't having to come out of their own pocket to pay this debt, is being paid by the tenants who live in this building. So understand, once you start looking at the word debt as simply something owed, okay, so something owed doesn't mean I have to personally pay it back out of my pocket. I can owe this. I can even set up a company, an LLC, that will buy this apartment building. So then I'm not personally paying this debt. The company, the tenants in there pay the rent. That rent goes to the company pays this debt, and I get cash flow. To understand, when you start understanding, okay, so debt is something that can be used in a smart way to buy assets, then maybe I need to have a better understanding or better view of this. Maybe I can get comfortable just even with the word and not have it be so emotionally charged onto me. Now, another picture I want you to look at is this one. If you have an incorrect understanding or not useful understanding of that word debt, and you say debt is blank, debt is evil, debt's bad, debt is a burden. But on the other hand, you're saying, I need funding to grow my business. I have an idea for a business. I want to do a food truck. I want to do this, that, or I need to expand. I need equipment for my business. All these different things. I need to hire more people, all of that. But over here, you have the definition of debt as evil, bad, all of that. But you need financing for your business. Those two thoughts are opposed to each other. So this is like you're trying to balance these two different things so you won't get anywhere. On one hand, you're thinking debt's evil. On the other hand, you're thinking I need funding to grow my business. It happens to lots of people in America. They go, I want to grow my business, but secretly hate debt. So as a result, they keep spinning their wheels because they don't look at different ways they can get financing, ways they can either get investors or go to the SBA, the Small Business Administration, and see how they can actually get financing so that they can grow and expand their business or grow or start a business. The main thing to remember here is looking up the definition of words. And once you start to realize that maybe debt isn't exactly what you've been told, maybe it's something different. Maybe it could just be simply as it could be good or bad depending on how I use it. It could be positive and survival depending on how I use it, or it could be negative and non-survival depending on how I use it. So maybe I need to educate myself on how to use it properly, but then I also know that debt and cash flow are connected. So if I have strong cash flow or if I manage my cash flow well, I can get into a position of having better credit and be more in a position to where people may want to lend to me, and then I can use that to go and build assets, buy assets, grow my business, expand, all of that. So I just want to do this video for you and just help you get comfortable with this topic, this subject, so that you can confront it a lot easier, so that it's not this burdenous thing on you that you run away from, or it's emotionally charged for you and you hate it. You should be able to confront something, because if you can't confront something, you can't handle it. And you won't be able to learn about it because you back off away from it. So get comfortable with debt. Understand what it means. Understand how you can use it or not use it, but don't run away from it out of fear. Approach it with a level of knowledge, confidence, and curiosity to understand what it means and how it can either benefit you or how people actually use it to expand and grow their wealth. Again, if you don't need to use debt, you don't have to. But I don't want you to feel emotionally charged on this particular subject. So I hope that helps you have a much better understanding and makes you feel more comfortable with this word, debt. Thanks for watching.